sharing a whole week of breakfast recipes. I guarantee that there will be at least one, hopefully more ideas that you'll take away that will just, yeah, give you that little push that we all sometimes need just to create something special, create something nourishing, create something that feels good for you. Top of the week, it's a Monday. Went to the gym this morning. I've definitely worked up an appetite. So yeah, we're gonna jump straight into first nourishing breakfast of the week. Let's do it, let's go. If I'm honest, it's usually a basic scramble situation, which is honestly my favorite way. Like, I love simple scrambled eggs. Today I just fancy something a little extra. So I'm gonna do my spicy scrambled eggs. I've got some cherry tomatoes. Tomatoes are still very much around, so I will be, yeah, just making use of them. They're still tasting really sweet, really delicious. I've got some really delicious eggs. I'm gonna chop up a little bit of red onion, just cook that down with the cherry tomatoes, some spices, and then once everything's cooked, I'm gonna throw in some coriander, have some toast with it. But before I do all of that, I've got a little bit of papaya that's left over, so I'm just gonna chop this up and eat it whilst I'm cooking. This is gonna be my pre-breakfast snack. 95% of the time I will start off with some type of fruit in the morning. Usually it's some type of berry, but I happen to have this papaya. I just squeezed over some lime and I enjoyed it whilst I cooked. So what do I want? Some cumin seeds and some nigella seeds. There we go. So starting off by chopping up all of the ingredients that I'm going to add to my spicy scramble. So this includes finely dicing some red onion, finely chopping some chili. To be honest, I usually just add chili flakes, but I had some fresh chilies, so I thought I would chop some up. So I'm going to use a little bit of coconut oil to cook my eggs. I heated a pan on like a low to medium heat and threw in my chopped onions and that chopped chili. I also threw in some cumin seeds and some nigella seeds. I usually add a pepper to this scramble, so I'm gonna go and grab pepper, chop that up. So many years ago, I spent a month in Mexico, and if you've been to Mexico, you just know the ingredients, nothing compares. And I would make this scramble every morning, almost every morning, and I just would not get tired of it. It just tasted better every single time. So yeah, I like to do it every now and then when I'm in the mood, which is today. So pepper chopped, tomatoes chopped, we're just gonna throw that all in. So I threw in my red peppers first, just letting those cook with the onions and the chili. Gonna cook the cherry tomatoes just for a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, just gonna crack my eggs. I'm gonna do 3 eggs. So what I like to do is move everything to the side, and then I pour in my whisked eggs and then just cook them as if I was just cooking ordinary scrambled eggs in a pan. Just cook my scrambled eggs and then combine the tomato and pepper mixture. Once the eggs are cooked, just combine everything. So I'm gonna finish with a little bit of coriander. Adding in that fresh coriander is a step that I would highly recommend. If you like coriander, do not miss this step. If you don't, then you can definitely give it a miss. You can add something like fresh parsley, even fresh dill would work really well. Any type of fresh herb that you love, you can add in. Spiced scramble, some rocket and avocado, and some of that Jason sourdough. This makes for a perfect brunch recipe. This one is so special. Starting my week off right, this is One thing that I have been doing consistently, and it has been an absolute non-negotiable for me, is some form of meditation. This leads me to this week's sponsor. I would love to give a big thank you to Headspace for sponsoring this week's video. I am so grateful to be sharing with you just how incredible, how life transformative my experience with Headspace has been. Headspace has been a massive game changer in keeping me committed to a meditation practice. The importance of training my mind and having a consistent meditation routine has brought about so much clarity, helping me just navigate through the ups and downs, the twists and turns of life. And I'd go as far to say it's probably single-handedly the most important thing that I do on a daily basis. That and some form of movement, exercise. Yeah, those two things go hand in hand for me. Regardless of the mood that I'm in or what I am trying to achieve on any given day, Headspace has a range of meditations. So whether you need support handling larger life events or simply handling daily life moments, Headspace is here to help. I personally love the guided meditations on Headspace, but I do appreciate that this form or style of meditation may not be for everyone. Perhaps you'd be more suited to eyes open exercises like mindful walks or runs. You even have a choice of breathing exercises exercises and courses available. I say this with full confidence. I truly believe that everybody, every single person would benefit from some form of meditation practice. Scientific data shows that 10 days of using Headspace resulted in 14% stress reduction. If you'd like to explore how Headspace may be helpful for you, you can try it out completely for free for 60 days. Sign up with the link in my description, or you can click the QR code that you can see on screen. If you're feeling like it's time for a change, you know that you need something that's going to help you feel grounded, something that you can do consistently, please check out Headspace. It will actually transform your life. It really will. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you for tomorrow's breakfast. This time of year calls for cooked apples. It's like an every year thing for me. Sometimes I'll stew them, just depending on what mood I'm in. Stewing apples obviously is a lot quicker than baking them, but today I'm actually working from home this morning, so I'm just gonna put a few to bake whilst I do a little bit of work, and then by the time I come back, they will be soft and gorgeous and ready to serve. I usually serve them with some type of yogurt. Hopefully I'll have a bit of Greek yogurt in my fridge, because that will be great for breakfast, just for that extra protein, but I have a feeling I only have coconut, so we'll see. This doesn't really qualify as a proper breakfast for me. I might have a little something extra on the side, just something a little bit more protein rich, but it is something that feels super nourishing, super healing. Any type of cooked apples, if you know, you know. Every week when I go to the farmer's market, I see a new variety of apple. This week I've got Jonah Gold, and I had one of these yesterday. They're sweet, they're crisp, the depth of flavor of these apples, I'm actually getting excited, and I'm actually feeling hungry just talking about them. So yeah, let me put these to bake. This time last year, I was so fixated with baking apples that I got this little tool. It's quite a handy tool. You definitely don't need it, just because I'm a little bit extra sometimes, and I was baking a lot of apples last year, so it did actually help out. I love these baked apples any time of the day. When I'm feeling like a little snack, even after dinner, like if you want a little sweet something, these are perfect. Let me put my oven on for now. This thing, look, it just pulls it out. I'm not wasting any of that apple. So I'm going to use a little bit of parchment paper. I find that if you wrap them in parchment paper, they get really, really soft. They almost collapse. I like to put a little bit of coconut oil just in the apple, and then I'm also going to use some cinnamon too. I've got this really gorgeous cinnamon right here. I'm going to stuff it with a few raisins also. So after coring your apples and placing in the coconut oil, cinnamon and raisins, you can wrap your apples individually in the parchment paper, or you can wrap them together. It's optional, just make sure that they are wrapped and covered really, really well. So I usually cook my apples for about 35 minutes or so, maybe a bit longer with these because they're a bit bigger, but we'll see. I know that they're ready because I can smell that cinnamon. Oh, probably overcook them. I've only got coconut yogurt, so that's what I'm going to use. You could be in my kitchen right now and smell how good these baked apples are. My goodness. Plated these apples up with a generous serving of that coconut yogurt. Placed on top my fully collapsed apple, which was filled with some cinnamon and raisins. Wanted something extra, sometimes I add walnuts. Today I had some pecans on hand, so I just chopped some up and threw those on top. Placed on top a little extra cinnamon because I am a big cinnamon lover. I had a little bit of this apple liquid. It was left over from the apples cooking in the parchment paper, and just decided to throw that on top. And oh my God, look at this. When I break the apple open, oh my God, the steam coming out, those raisins, that cinnamon inside, just so damn good. This is so good, it's dangerous. You know what, I take it back. I didn't overcook these apples. They're perfect. About to be a speedy porridge kind of morning, and I have been loving adding cacao to my porridge, so I'm going to make cacao oats. I think I've got some blueberries too, so I might just actually cook down the blueberries. It is really cold out there, so that will be a nice extra touch. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Cacao oats, here we come. I love adding in some type of protein powder, and I've shown you guys this one before. This is the one that I always have on hand. It's called Form, and it's the unflavored one because I can't really take the sweeteners in a lot of things. So yeah, I absolutely love this one. Put some grated ginger and turmeric to steep when I woke up, so I'm just gonna pour myself my little tea. I'm gonna add in my honey, and I've also got a little bit of lime as well. I'm gonna squeeze in some of that too. Usually bowl prepared, and I have my oats soaked, and if I'm using things like goji berries, I do prefer to soak those just because they kind of get a little bit more plump and juicy. But I didn't prep at all for this morning. So yeah, I'm just gonna cook these from non-soaked, from normal. I've got some unwaxed lime, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of lime peel in my porridge, along with some cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg. Those are gonna be my flavorings for today. So I just poured in some almond milk. I don't know if it's just me, but I always find that almond milk's just a little bit too weak, so I always end up adding some like thick creamy coconut milk at the end when cooking my porridge. I also placed in some goji berries too and just began mixing, stirring everything, letting everything cook. Like I have the longest porridge ingredient list because I end up adding everything. That's what's happening this morning. I've got this pumpkin and flaxseed mix, which I usually have. You've probably heard me talk about seed cycling. I don't stick with it, but I've got this little blender in my fridge. I thought, why not? Oh, chia seeds, just saw the chia seeds. So once the porridge is pretty much cooked, the last steps for me are just to throw in the cacao powder along with my protein powder, which is that Form protein powder that I showed you, and a little bit of full fat coconut milk. This is coconut milk from a tin. I just love the texture that it gives my porridge. It really does make a difference, but I don't always have it, but when I do, yeah, I like to use it. So just stirred my porridge until I reached my desired consistency. I'm kind of like somewhere in between. Don't like it too thick, don't like it too thin. Wanted to top my porridge with some blueberries and just thought cooking them down would be a nice little touch. So that's what I did. Really simple. Grabbed my pan, placed in some blueberries with a teeny touch of water. That's it. I don't always add honey, you know, but because of the cacao, it is a little bitter. It's got a little bitter taste, so I'm gonna add some honey just to balance it out. So serving up my cacao porridge, I just placed it into a bowl. I topped it with some yogurt and those cooked down blueberries, which just, I love the color contrast actually. I just think it looks wonderful. I topped with some hemp seeds, yeah, and just dived straight in. Oh my God, the combination of the cacao with the cooked down blueberries and that yogurt, hemp seeds, perfect.
More hemp seeds.
I've got a couple of white potatoes. I'm really in the mood for a tasty breakfast. I'm thinking something like a Rosty, or I might do a potato waffle. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. I'll figure it out. I fancy some smoked salmon, might have a couple of eggs too, some fresh dill. Let's do this. So really simple steps. We're just gonna peel and grate our potatoes. I actually don't know what variety of potatoes these are, so it's a bit of a risk. I just picked them up randomly from the farmer's market, but we'll see. Hopefully they will work. Maris Piper is always a good shout though. I don't know what it is about Rosty when it gets cold. It's just something that I crave every now and then. Such a comfort food, especially when you get it nice and golden and crispy. So after peeling, I grabbed my grater and just grated these potatoes. We're gonna get all of the liquid out of the potato. I'm just using a big cloth, just squeeze it all out. So make sure you squeeze out as much excess liquid as possible and then place the grated potato into a bowl. I just had some spring onions on hand, so thought I would chop some up and throw them in. If you want to, you could use regular white onion. You could simply just grate some in to the potato Rosty, but yeah, I'm using spring onion today. Threw my spring onions into the grated potato, seasoned with some good salt, some ground black pepper, and I threw in a little bit of plain flour. I've never done this with a potato Rosty, but I just fancied adding in some Parmesan, so I just grated some in and just gave everything a good mix. I grabbed my frying pan, I heated it on a medium heat and threw in a knob of butter. I also threw in a touch of oil as well, just so the butter wouldn't burn. The great thing about a Rosty, you can shape them any way you want. You can go as small and big as you want. I prefer to keep mine quite small and flat as possible, so they go really crunchy and crispy. And then cook for about, I'd say like 2 or 3 minutes on each side. Like you'll know when they're done, you'll know when they're ready. They will be golden. They will be irresistible. So I chose to serve mine up with some smoked salmon and a soft-boiled egg, like a jammy egg, just how I like it. I also added a little bit of creme fraiche on the side. You could add some sour cream or you could leave it out. I chopped up some fresh dill. This might be my favorite of the week. You know what, when it comes to Rosty, I know that parboiled potatoes, if you parboil them and then grate them, you're always gonna get a really, really good Rosty. So a step that I sometimes do, I didn't do it today, is once I grate the potatoes, I put the grated potatoes in an ice bath, and that will just remove any excess starch. I didn't do it today, but they still turned out really good.
Just to take a moment to remember the last time you were in really bright, clear, warm sunshine. Just to remember that quality of sunlight. And I'd like you to imagine that right now, in the middle of the body, in the middle of the chest, a little sort of speck of this sunlight.
When Friday comes around, I'm usually looking in my fridge to see what I can get rid of. Any odds and ends, yeah, I just want to use them up before I restock my fridge on a Saturday morning when I go to the farmer's market. Just look out for any tired looking vegetables like this pepper. Yeah, it just needs using. Still going strong with courgettes, probably a couple of more weeks left of courgettes. And I've got some leftover steamed sweet potato, which I'm going to throw in. I've got a little onion. I've got a quarter of a cabbage that needs using. Obviously I was using it during the week. This is the little bit left over. I'm gonna just make a frittata. I love doing this. I used to go crazy for frittatas. I used to make them probably like 2-3 times a week, but I haven't done it in a while, so I'm really looking forward to it. Might add a little bit of feta and a little swirl of pesto on top, but we'll see, let's see. Beginning by prepping all of the ingredients, I just peeled and sliced the onion, followed on by chopping up that pepper, which desperately needed using. I just cut the courgettes into moon shapes, but obviously you can just chop these vegetables however you feel to, however you wish to. Then I just roughly chopped up that cabbage. For me, this is a key ingredient. I don't know, there's something about cabbage in a frittata, like nothing compares. Whilst that pan is heating, I'm gonna put my red quinoa. I cooked a big batch of red quinoa this morning. Sometimes I just look through my cupboards and I think, what could I soak for the next day? And the red quinoa caught my eye last night. Okay, that pan is hot. Let me actually turn that down a little bit. I'm gonna throw in a little bit of ghee. Just fancy a little bit of ghee this morning. So once the ghee had melted, I placed in the onions and the cabbage, just cooking these both down first. I seasoned with a little bit of salt, some pepper, a touch of dried oregano, and just cooked for a few minutes. I followed on by throwing in the remaining vegetables, so the chopped red peppers and courgettes. I splashed in a little bit of tamari, just in true Tish fashion, but you don't have to do that step. I don't know, there's something about tamari and cabbage, like I love the combination. Whenever I'm cooking cabbage, it needs a little touch of tamari. We're gonna throw in that cooked sweet potato. I have my little tester plate, you know. So I followed on by cracking all of my eggs into a bowl and just giving them a good placing in a touch of salt, not too much because I've used quite a bit of salt and I've used tamari. So giving my vegetables one last stir and just cooking them how I like them to be cooked. Super simple. We're just gonna put our whisked eggs. I removed a little bit of the vegetables actually, just because I like to top the frittata. I placed the frittata in a preheated 180-degree oven for around 8 minutes. You know it's a good day when you're remembering to take your vitamins, right? I'm gonna place on top a little bit of pesto and some feta. So I drizzled on some shop-bought pesto, crumbled over some feta, threw over some fresh parsley, gave it a little bit more black pepper, and I served this beautiful, beautiful breakfast slash brunch up. Just look at these slices of gorgeousness. It was like eating a frittata for the first time. Yesterday I said the Rosty might have been my favorite this week, but I think, oh, nothing compares to a frittata. I'm glad it's made its way back to my kitchen. A whole week of nourishing breakfast ideas. I love hearing what recipes you're drawn to, which ones you're gonna try out first. So let me know in the comments. For more of my recipes, you can head over to my website. Go check out all of my ebooks over there at www.tishwonders.co.uk. I'll see you soon in my next video. Enjoy the recipes that I've shared. I hope you put them to use this week.